Hi, I'm Brenda. Welcome back to the channel. Today's story was sent by a woman who faced one of the deepest betrayals someone can experience. But instead of falling apart, she did something no one expected, not even the man who broke her. Heart, before we begin, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I receive letters every week, stories of infidelity, revenge, family drama, and transformation. And your comments help me decide what to read next. Let me know what kind of stories move you most. Now, let me introduce you to the woman behind today's letter. Her name is Jenna, at least that's what we'll call her. She is 41, works in corporate HR, and was married for 14 years to a man she once believed was her forever. His name is Kyle. They met in college. Jenna said he was charming, ambitious, and made her feel seen. Over the years, they built a life together, bought a house, traveled, laughed. She supported him through 2 job changes and helped him launch his own small business. But about a year ago, she noticed something change. Kyle grew distant. He came home later, stopped asking about her day, and kept his phone turned face down at all times. Jenna asked what was wrong. He said he was stressed. She believed him. At first, then came the late-night texts he claimed were just group chats with the guys. The sudden interest in going to the gym. The overly careful grooming habits. And then the biggest red flag of all, he stopped touching her. No kisses, no warmth, no connection. She asked him again if something was going on. He denied it with just enough irritation to make her feel guilty for asking. But Jenna's gut was louder than his words. So she did what many women are forced to do when honesty dies. She started watching. She didn't explode. She didn't confront him. She simply observed, quietly, carefully, and that was the beginning, not of her heartbreak, but of her plan. Because Jenna wasn't just a wife, she was a strategist. And Kyle had no idea who he was really dealing with. It didn't take long for Jenna to find the truth. One night while Kyle was in the shower, a message lit up his phone. The preview read, "Can't stop thinking about last night." She didn't open it. She didn't need to. That was all the confirmation she required. She sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the screen until the light faded. Her heart was beating fast, but her hands were steady. She wasn't going to confront him. Not yet. She realized something important in that moment. His betrayal was fuel. The next morning, she acted as if nothing had changed. She kissed him goodbye, packed his lunch, and told him to have a good day. He smiled, completely unaware. Jenna wasn't just playing along. She was gathering information. And leverage. She began documenting everything. Dates, times, patterns. She took photos of receipts left in his pockets, noted the names of unfamiliar contacts. She even mirrored his phone to a separate account using software she found through a friend in cybersecurity. Meanwhile, she started being more affectionate, asked about his work, cooked his favorite meals, wore the perfume he liked. Kyle, caught up in the thrill of his double life, assumed Jenna had no idea. That assumption would be his downfall. One night, he came home with lipstick on his collar. Jenna looked him in the eye and smiled. "Rough day?" she asked. He stammered something about a coworker's birthday party. She nodded and handed him a glass of wine. She never stopped smiling. Behind the scenes, Jenna wasn't just collecting evidence. She was also building an exit strategy. She met with a divorce attorney, quietly opened a private bank account. She began separating her finances, documenting shared assets, and copying business records. What Kyle didn't know was that Jenna had always handled the books for his business. She had access to everything: expenses, reimbursements, employee rosters. And buried in those spreadsheets were things Kyle never expected her to find. Jenna knew Kyle had secrets, but she wasn't prepared for how deep they ran. While combing through reimbursement reports, she noticed a recurring name, T. Marks. a young assistant Kyle had hired 6 months earlier. Someone Jenna had only met once. She remembered the girl being polite, maybe a little too shy. But what caught Jenna's attention were the frequent hotel charges labeled as client meetings. They weren't tied to any actual clients. And the dates? They matched Kyle's late nights perfectly. Jenna looked up to marks on social media. It didn't take long. The girl posted often photos at restaurants, wine glasses for two, cryptic captions like, "He makes me feel seen." In one post, a reflection in her sunglasses showed Kyle's unmistakable face. That night, Jenna sat in the dark with her laptop, staring at the evidence. It was all there. The affair, the lies, the stolen time, but she didn't cry. She didn't scream. Instead, she wrote everything down like a report. Organized, complete. Cold. She knew Kyle's company had a strict policy about relationships between supervisors and subordinates. Violating it could mean suspension or worse. Jenna printed out the policy, highlighted the violations, and attached screenshots of receipts and posts. She didn't submit it yet. Timing was everything. She wanted Kyle to feel secure first, to think he had won. So she kept up the act, still warm, still supportive. She even helped him prep for a business pitch. Knowing it could be his last in that office, Jenna also reached out to a woman Kyle had dated before their marriage. They've lost touch years ago, but the woman responded quickly and confirmed that Kyle had cheated on her too. Jenna wasn't surprised. She was building a picture now. And it wasn't pretty piece by piece. She was constructing a quiet bomb. One that would go off exactly when she was ready. No shouting. No public meltdown. Just a calm, controlled dismantling of everything Kyle had built on lies. And he still had no idea. Jenna's first move was subtle. She contacted Kyle's company's HR department using a private email account. She submitted a complaint about an anonymous supervisor engaging in a relationship with a junior employee. She included the evidence, screenshots, financial records, and company policy violations. She didn't name Kyle, not yet, but she knew how HR operated. An internal investigation would begin immediately. And once they followed the trail, his name would come up on its own. She just had to let the process run its course. Next, she spoke to her attorney and began formalizing the divorce filing. Still without Kyle knowing. Every document was lined up, every asset accounted for. The lawyer was impressed with her preparation. "You've already done half my work," he said. She smiled and replied, "I've had time," because Jenna wasn't rushing. She was savoring every step. Every moment she spent building her escape was a step out of the shadow Kyle had cast over her life for years. And now, she could see the sunlight. She also began quietly moving her personal belongings into a rented storage unit. Family heirlooms, childhood keepsakes, important documents. Anything she didn't want Kyle touching when the walls finally came down. She had a checklist and she followed it daily. At home, Jenna continued playing her role. She laughed at his jokes. Let him think she was reconnecting. Kyle even started making an effort again, bringing her flowers, suggesting they take a weekend. Trip, guilt maybe, or just ego. Either way, it was pathetic. What he didn't know was that Jenna had already booked a hotel for herself for the night she planned to leave. She paid in cash under a different name and kept the keycard hidden in her purse. Every detail was thought through. She wasn't leaving anything behind. And then the call came. Kyle's company was conducting a formal review. Jenna watched him pace the living room, confused, anxious, holding his phone like it was a grenade. He had no idea the pin had already been pulled, and the explosion was just beginning. Kyle spent the entire evening pacing, making calls, muttering about HR and policy violations. Jenna sat on the couch, pretending to read. She didn't ask questions. That made him more nervous. He wanted her to ask, to give him an opening to lie, but she didn't. She just nodded when he said, "There's some confusion at work. It'll blow over." He tried to sound confident, but his hands trembled as he drank his scotch. His facade was cracking, and Jenna was there to watch every inch of it fall apart. The next morning, Kyle left early for a meeting. Jenna watched from the window as he pulled out of the driveway. She waited 5 minutes, then grabbed the folder she'd prepared. Inside, divorce papers, a financial breakdown, and a handwritten letter. She placed it on the kitchen table beside his coffee mug. The ring she had worn for 14 years sat on top. No drama, no yelling, just the truth, delivered with precision. Then she picked up her suitcase and walked out of the house for the last time. That evening, Kyle returned to an empty home. Jenna imagined him opening the folder, reading her letter, realizing she had known everything and planned everything while smiling at him across the dinner table. She hoped the silence screamed louder than words ever could dot in her letter. She wrote, "You once told me I wasn't strong enough to survive without you. I hope you can survive now without me, and without your job, without your name, without your lies holding you up, because I'm not holding them anymore." By the end of that week, Kyle had been placed on leave. His assistant had been let go. An investigation was ongoing. Jenna didn't watch the fallout directly, but mutual friends started reaching out. "Are you okay? We heard what happened." She just thanked them and moved on. She didn't feel vindictive. She didn't feel guilty. She felt clean, like she had washed years of gaslighting, neglect, and betrayal off her skin. She wasn't interested in revenge that left her feeling empty. She wanted clarity, and she got it. Jenna didn't move in with anyone. She didn't jump into a new relationship. She didn't even announce the divorce on social media. She just disappeared, quietly, peacefully. She needed space to breathe without being watched, judged, or lied to. Her hotel room was small but spotless. It became her sanctuary for the first few weeks. No expectations, no fake apologies, no reminders of a man who made her feel invisible in her own home. She slept deeply for the first time in years. She started walking every morning before sunrise. No headphones, no distractions. Just her and the sound of her feet on the pavement. She listened to her thoughts. At first, they were loud, full of questions, anger, grief. But over time, they softened. She also began journaling. Not about Kyle, about herself, her dreams, her childhood, her future. She realized she had spent so many years managing his moods, his schedule, his needs. She'd forgotten what she wanted, what she loved, who she was. She rented a small apartment with a view of the city skyline. It wasn't fancy, but it was hers. She decorated slowly, one candle, one plant, one framed, photo at a time. Every item she placed was a declaration. I choose this. One choose me. Friends reached out, some shocked, some supportive. She didn't tell them the full story. She didn't need to. The people who mattered respected her privacy. The ones who asked. Too many questions quietly faded from her life, and she let them. Her divorce finalized quickly, thanks to the mountain of documentation she had. Kyle didn't contest it. He couldn't, not with everything falling apart around him. Jenna walked away with her share of the assets, her dignity, and a heart ready to start over. She never once looked back at the house they shared, not even to drive past it. That version of her life was over. It had ended the moment she chose silence over screaming, strategy over chaos, power over pain, and peace over revenge. Jenna didn't make a checklist of goals. She didn't rush to fix herself. She just allowed space. Space to feel, to explore, to be still. For the first time in years, her life wasn't built around someone else's expectations. It belonged. Only to her dot, she took a pottery class on a whim. Her hands were clumsy at first, the clay always uneven, but something about the mess signs felt honest. She liked shaping something with no instructions, no deadlines, just instinct. Just her. She started cooking again, not for anyone else, but for herself. Spicy noodles, dark chocolate cakes, breakfasts at odd hours. Her kitchen became a place of joy, not obligation. Every meal felt like a quiet celebration of freedom. On weekends, she explored neighborhoods she'd never been allowed to visit. Bookstores, art galleries, coffee shops with mismatched furniture. She met people who didn't ask if she was married, who didn't care about her past, only her presence. She laughed more, out loud, sometimes too loud, and it felt good. Her laugh had changed. It was lighter now, less cautious, as if some tight wire inside her had finally snapped, releasing years of quiet tension. She was unfolding. One day she looked in the mirror and barely recognized herself. Not because she looked broken, but because she looked alive. There were still shadows under her eyes, still healing in progress. But there was also light, and it was hers. She didn't stalk Kyle online. She didn't wonder where he was or who he was with. He no longer lived in her thoughts. He existed only as a lesson now written in ink filed and shelved in a chapter she no longer needed to reread. What surprised her most wasn't how much she had changed, but how easy it became to be alone without being lonely. Solitude, she discovered, wasn't emptiness, it was clarity. And in that stillness, she met the version of herself she had forgotten existed. People often assume revenge is loud breaking windows, screaming matches, dramatic exits. But Jenna learned that real revenge, the kind that stays with someone, is silent. It doesn't announce itself. It just removes everything the person took. For granted, Kyle didn't lose her because he cheated. He lost her because she stopped fighting for someone who gave her nothing to hold on to. She didn't beg. She didn't plead. She simply let him go and let everything he built collapse under its own weight. Her silence wasn't weakness. It was control. Every day she smiled and said nothing, she was gathering pieces of her power. Every time she packed a box without him knowing, every document she copied, she was reclaiming herself. She never wished Kyle harm. That would have made her like him, manipulative, reactive, small. What she wanted was freedom. And what made it satisfying wasn't that he suffered, but that she no longer needed him to validate her worth. She realized that vengeance didn't have to be fire. Sometimes it was air still, invisible, and impossible to grasp once it's gone. Kyle would never be able to explain what happened. He would never see her unravel. And that was the point. She had given him everything. Loyalty, years, support, love. He returned it with betrayal. So she gave him something in return: absence. Not the kind that waits for attention, but the kind that becomes untouchable. The kind that echoes. People asked her later, "How did you stay so calm?" She just smiled, because the truth is, she wasn't calm. She was focused. And sometimes focus looks like serenity. Sometimes pain, when held in the right hands, becomes precision. What Jenna did wasn't about revenge in the end. It was about refusing to let someone break her spirit. It was about looking in the mirror and knowing without a doubt that she had the last word, even if she never spoke it out loud. Jenna never planned to tell her story, not publicly, not even to most of her friends. But life has a way of connecting women through invisible threads of shared pain. One day, in a small conversation with a coworker, it slipped out. She mentioned the divorce, the silence, the plan. The woman across the table leaned in, eyes wide. "You did what I wish I had the courage to do," she said. That moment stayed with Jenna. It was the first time she realized her story wasn't just hers. Soon after, she began writing anonymously in an online forum. Just fragments, thoughts, feelings, steps she took to protect herself. Messages poured in from women in similar situations, from women afraid to move, from women ready to begin again. They didn't ask for details. They just wanted to know it was possible to leave, to survive, to stay calm, to choose silence without shame. And Jenna gave them that, not by preaching, but by being a living, breathing example of quiet transformation. She found herself responding, late at night, offering words she wished someone had once told her. You don't owe anyone your peace. Your intuition is not overreacting. Start small, but start. Her inbox became a place of quiet sisterhood. One message stood out. I was waiting for a sign to leave. Your story was it. Jenna cried reading that, not from sadness, but from clarity. What had once felt like suffering now felt like purpose. Her pain had built a bridge for someone else's escape. She realized then that survival wasn't enough. She wanted more for herself and for others. She wanted women to know that power doesn't have to be loud, that sometimes walking away with dignity is the most devastating response you can give. She never named Kyle, never posted his photo, never exposed the affair beyond legal channels. Her power wasn't in destroying his name, it was in reclaiming hers. And she knew now, without doubt, that what she built in silence would last longer than anything he ever spoke. Jenna's new life didn't look like a movie. There were no grand love stories, no makeovers, no dramatic applause. What there was, finally, was stillness. She woke up each morning without dread. She opened the curtains and felt the light. Not fear. She no longer checked anyone's phone. She didn't wonder where someone was at night. She didn't listen for lies in casual conversations. That quietness, that absence of suspicion, felt like luxury. She had lived so long in survival mode, she hadn't realized how heavy it was. She created new rituals. Morning coffee by the window, Sunday walks with no destination, leaving her phone on silent without anxiety. She wasn't escaping anymore, she was simply existing. That, in itself, felt revolutionary. She set boundaries in every area of her life, with coworkers, family, even old friends who didn't understand her silence. She didn't need everyone to agree with her choices. She only needed to feel safe inside her own skin. There were moments when the past crept in an old photo, a familiar scent, a date on the calendar. But instead of spiraling, she breathed through it. She reminded herself of everything she survived. Her history didn't haunt her. It humbled her. She dated casually, but without urgency. She didn't look for a savior or a replacement. She was open, but never dependent. Anyone who entered her world now had to meet her where she was whole, steady and unwilling to shrink again. One night, lying in bed, Jenna whispered to herself, "This is what peace feels like." No man had ever given her that. No apology had ever offered it. She had built it with her own hands, one choice at a time, without needing permission. She wasn't chasing closure anymore. She was living beyond it. Her life wasn't a recovery. It was a rebirth. And as she drifted off to sleep, she smiled at the quiet. Not because there was nothing left to say, but because she had already said everything that mattered, without saying a word. If you're listening to this and feel something shift inside you, listen to it. That feeling, that quiet discomfort, is truth trying to speak. Don't ignore it, don't silence it. It's not just anxiety, it's your intuition. And it has never lied to you. I know what it's like to sleep next to someone who makes you feel invisible, to laugh at jokes that aren't funny, to cook meals for someone who doesn't see you, to beg for crumbs and call it a meal. I lived that for years, until I didn't. You don't have to wait until it gets worse. You don't have to find proof to justify your emptiness. Sometimes the absence of love is enough. Sometimes the way someone makes you doubt your own instincts is reason enough to walk away. You are not crazy. You are not dramatic. You are. Not asking for too much. Wanting to feel safe, valued, and respected is not excessive. It's basic. It's human. And if someone treats those needs like a burden, they are not your person. Leaving doesn't have to be loud. You don't need to. Throw things or scream or prove a point. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is pack a bag, close the door behind you, and never explain yourself again. Silence can be sacred. I don't regret a single step I took. Not the patience, not the planning, not the leaving. I moved. In silence, not because I was afraid, but because I was focused. Because I wanted my exit to be the beginning of something, not just the end. There is life after heartbreak. There is peace after betrayal. There is freedom in choosing yourself, especially when someone else never did. And once you taste that freedom, you'll never go back. You'll never accept less than you deserve again. So to the woman who feels stuck, scared, or small, I was you. And one day, if you choose it, you'll be me. Standing on the other side of pain, whispering to yourself, this is what peace feels like. And I promise you, it's worth everything. And that brings us to the end of Jenna's story. A woman who was betrayed, dismissed, and underestimated, but never broken. She didn't just leave a man who failed her. She left behind a version of herself that settled for less than she deserved. If this story touched you, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. I receive letters every week, stories of heartbreak, transformation, betrayal, and quiet revenge. And your voice helps shape which ones I read next. Let me know in the comments what kinds of stories resonate with you. Most stories of survival, of justice, of second chances. What would you do in Jenna's place? Would you walk away silently? Or would you burn everything down? Remember, sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is nothing. Sometimes the best revenge is rebuilding your life so beautifully that the people who hurt you can't even recognize you anymore. And sometimes the best closure is no longer needing any. To every woman listening, your pain is valid, your instincts are wise, and your silence does not mean you're weak. It means you're preparing. It means you're choosing your moment. And when you move, do it with purpose. Do it with power. This channel is a space where stories like Jenna's are honored, where women who've been ignored are finally heard. And if you have a story to share, whether it's of heartbreak or healing, I'm listening. You are not alone. I'm Brenda, and I'll be back soon with another letter from one of our brave subscribers. Until then, protect your peace, trust your intuition, and never underestimate the power of a woman who decides she's had enough. Thank you for being here. And always remember, revenge doesn't have to be loud to echo forever.